Hello students, I am Rizwan. Today we are going to learn visualizing 3D in 2D. Introduction. As we look around, we observe that all the objects have a shape. Right from a book to a computer, everything has a unique shape. Shapes are either two-dimensional or three-dimensional. A shape that has a length and a width is called a two-dimensional shape, and a shape that has a length, width and a height is called a three-dimensional shape. A solid shape is a 3D shape that has three dimensions, which are length, width and height or depth. In this lesson, we will learn about solid shapes and how to visualize them. Learning objectives. After the completion of this lesson, you will be able to know 2D and 3D shapes, identify solid figures, polyhedron and non-polyhedron, various geometrical solids in real life. Keywords from this lesson are plane shape, solid shape, length, breadth, height, polyhedron, non-polyhedron. Let's observe the concept map of visualizing 3D in 2D. Before going to the topic, first of all, we have to know what is 2D and 3D. Children, let us see the images. Here, we observe that both the images are papers. But in the first image, you are seeing a single piece of paper that appears as a plane shape. Plane shapes have two measurements like length and breadth. Therefore, they are called two-dimensional shapes. In the second image, you can see a bunch of papers. If we observe, we can see a solid shape, isn't it? A solid object has three measurements like length, breadth, height or depth. Hence, they are called three-dimensional shapes. Also, a solid object occupies some space. Two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes can also be briefly named 2D and 3D shapes. Let us observe the image. The shapes are a circle, a rectangle and a square, isn't it? These shapes represent plane shapes. These plane shapes have two dimensions, namely length and breadth. Now, let us place some 2 rupee coins, some 10 rupee notes and some square shaped biscuits one above the other respectively. If you observe this image, you can see a cylinder, a cuboid and a cube, isn't it? These shapes do not lie completely on the plane and also occupy some space. That is, they have the third dimension, namely the height along with the dimensions of length and breadth. The shapes which have three dimensions, namely length, breadth and height are called three-dimensional shapes, simply called 3D shapes. Let's see some more examples of 3D shapes. Cube, cuboid, prism, triangular pyramid, square pyramid, cylinder, sphere, cone. Students, our next topic from this lesson is various geometrical solids in real life. In our surroundings, we can see various solid objects. Among them, some solid objects have curved faces and some solid objects have flat faces. Some 3D objects like boxes, books and dice have flat surfaces. Some 3D objects like a ball, pipes and bottles have curved surfaces. Based on this property, we can classify 3D shapes as polyhedron and non-polyhedron. Let us know what is polyhedrons and non-polyhedrons. First, let us see what is a polyhedron. A polyhedron is a three-dimensional solid made up of polygons. It has flat faces, straight edges and vertices. For example, a cube, prism or pyramid are polyhedrons. See the given image of the polyhedron. Children, see the given polyhedron in our day-to-day life. Now, let us see what is a non-polyhedron. The objects are not having flat faces, straight edges and vertices. That is called a non-polyhedron. Cones, spheres and cylinders are non-polyhedrons because their sides are not polygons and they have curved surfaces. Let's see some examples of non-polyhedrons. Now, let us see how non-polyhedron is in our day-to-day life. See the below figures to see the different types of shapes. This shows some shapes like hemisphere, sphere, cone and pyramid. Let us know if these pictures are related to our real life. Now you see this picture. A tent, a cone surmounted on a cylinder, a tin which is a cylindrical shell, softy, a cone surmounted by a hemisphere, a photo frame which is a rectangular path, a bowl which is a hemispherical shell, tomb on a pillar which is cylinder surmounted by a hemisphere. Now you see this image how the shapes are related to our day-to-day life. Points to remember. The objects that are two-dimensional with length and breadth defined as plane shapes. The objects that are three-dimensional with length, breadth and height defined as solid shapes. A polyhedron is a three-dimensional solid made up of polygons. It has flat faces, straight edges and vertices. For example, a cube, prism, pyramid is a polyhedron. The objects are not having flat faces, straight edges and vertices, that is called a non-polyhedron. Cones, spheres and cylinders are non-polyhedrons because their sides are not polygons and they have curved surfaces. Thanks for watching.